Rangers, and welcome back to another ER video. I apologize that it's been a little bit since a video has been out. I've been trying, but I just haven't had much luck fishing lately. But I have a very special surprise for you. We're officially doing the very first survival trip here on the Earthen Rangers YouTube channel. And to make up not having a video for a while, I have a special guest for you guys today. We are doing a survival trip with the one, the only, Fisherman's Life.
What's up, guys?
All right, guys, so today our survival trip is going to be a little bit modified. There are essentially 4 rules to survival. The first and most important rule is shelter, because exposure is the #1 killer. The next one is water, because you can only survive 2 to 3 days without water. The third one is fire, because many of the times you need fire to purify your water, and you need fire to help keep you warm. And the fourth one is food, because you can survive for a long time without food. Now, this is Matt's first survival trip, and because I've been busy as a parent the last few years, I have not had time to do a survival trip in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty myself. I practice these skills all the time, but actually putting them together in a real-life survival scenario is always just a little bit different and a little more intense. So because I'm definitely rusty, and because this is Matt's first survival trip, we are going to modify this very first survival trip, where we are going to be doing the #1 important thing in the sacred order of survival, which is shelter building, and we're going to be doing the last one, which is food harvesting. Which means today, and for this trip, we have brought our own water. In addition, we have brought a bow drill kit. We are not harvesting the kit out here, and we're just letting that be known now that we did indeed bring the bow drill kit to this trip. So, but that is essentially all we have. We have our camera gear, we have some water, we have a bow drill kit, and we have knives and the clothes on our back, and that is it. And then in the future, we're hopeful to get out on a more advanced survival trip, and we'll do something like make the trip a couple days longer, and we'll take things away like water, to where we have to harvest our own water and eventually harvest our own friction fire sources out in the field. Right now where we got dropped off, we're in higher elevation, and because of that, there's holes in the canopy. And these holes in the canopy are allowing for sunlight to hit the ground. And when the sunlight hits the ground, we get a lot more diversity in low-growing vegetation, which allows for a lot more plants with edible, medicinal, and survival uses. Once we're in the heart of the redwood forest, there's actually not a lot of diversity out there, because redwoods have a natural chemical compound in their leaf litter that inhibits the growth of other plants. So because of that, there's only a handful of plants that have co-evolved with redwoods and coastal redwood habitats over the last couple of 100,000 years. And that means that there's not a lot of trees out here, or a lot of plants to utilize. In the coastal redwoods, we have things like, obviously the coastal redwood, the Douglas fir, Pacific madrone, bay laurel, tan oaks, but that's really it. So having something like this pine right here behind me is really rare for this area. And again, we're only seeing this pine because we're at a higher elevation right now. So Matt's and I are gonna make use of this pine as much as possible. There's a lot of awesome things that we can get from this tree. One, as I was talking about, you can get tea and vitamin C from the needles. You can eat the inner bark, and you can actually make a survival pasta from the inner bark, which is the inner cambium of the pine tree. The sap of the pine is highly flammable. In addition, you can use the sap to disinfect any wounds or cuts that you might sustain while out in that survival situation. So like I said, we're going to make major use of this pine right now. In addition, we are finding these pollen heads, which we're going to try to eat later on. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to roast them over a fire. It looks like they've started developing a little bit past their typical edible stage, but I think we're still going to be able to make use of them. Alright, so we're harvesting some of these pine needles for some pine needle tea tonight and tomorrow morning. Assuming that we make a fire and get another water source to make tea. I think is that a weird stage though?
So you actually just bit off this thing, huh?
Pollen head. I mean, we could cook it, but guys, so Matt's just found some sap from one of these pine trees, which is going to be super valuable for us. This sap is highly flammable. It's going to be a wonderful addition to the tinder bundle to help get a fire today. In addition, we can use it to make torches. We can use it for healing wounds, glue, all kinds of wonderful things. So yeah, we'll definitely make good use out of this.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up in a little moss, and then we'll keep it all together.
Perfect. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, it tends to get pretty sticky with body heat. All right, something else that we're going to utilize on this trip is the manzanita bush. And no, we're not utilizing this for food, although if we can find a manzanita that has fruiting berries on it, we might be able to get some of the berries, make a nice manzanita berry tea or something like that. But right now what I'm looking to do is utilize these leaves for hygiene. So we can actually use this, pick the leaf, break it open, and then rub this on the teeth and the gums, and it's naturally antibacterial and antiseptic, so it's going to clean the mouth area, and it's kind of like your dental care. If we can find something like the manzanita leaf in addition to another plant such as mallow, and utilize the mallow root, which is high in calcium and phosphorus, and chew on that, then we'll have like our complete dental health care when out here on a survival situation. It's going to be cold tonight. If comes to worse and we can't find anything to boil water in, we will use some litter and help clean up the forest as well. There's a can. Might have a use for that later. All right, guys, so we have made it. We are here at the sacred campsite. About 6-7 years ago, me and 8 buddies made a redwood wiki up. It's still standing, which is nice to see, but it's in pretty bad shape. I'm not sure if we're actually gonna make brand new shelters here, or if we'll try to revive this thing to some extent, but we'll just kind of play it by ear and see what opportunities arise. But we have finally arrived at this beautiful spot. It's been like 3 years. And in the morning, the ravens make the craziest noises here. I think it sounds like there's like a bunch of velociraptors. I think it's gonna be best. one thing you can do to conserve energy in a survival scenario and to ensure that you don't injure yourself is to use a tree that has a crotch or a V to it. And you can just simply stick your tree in that crotch and walk and easily break wood this way. Any size you want. So now I got my two cross beams to set up my ridge pole. Taking these soft, spindly, thin little tan oak branches that are super pliable, and I'm taking two of them that are about the same length and just simply kind of winding them together. This is like super simple kind of chintzy cordage. It doesn't work that well, but just to tie off some ridge poles, it'll work well enough. And when you bind them together like this, it'll strengthen them. So we're currently collecting mounds of debris from the hill. Like we just did this one slope, super pooped from it, and probably need to do about 50 more of these at least. At least. Alright you guys, so the debris huts are not done yet. They every time. Like the earth just like let loose below me. Okay guys, so the debris huts are not done yet. They honestly probably need about another hour of debris collection to be covered up with debris more, and then we got to work on the doors. You know, we haven't eaten since this morning, so it's at that point where it's just starting to feel a little exhausted. You just got to mentally push through it. This stuff, especially gathering the debris, kind of wipes you out.
It's really like a fine balance between pressure.
Alright, so let me know when you want me to take over.
You make that call.
You're doing good right now. So yeah, guys, we're back at the creek here. We're running out of daylight, so we're quickly harvesting water. In addition, we found these 2 beer bottles. Looks like we got a little Great Lee, Belgian beaver, Belgian, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna boil in these some fresh water, and we're also gonna make some acorn mush, acorn gruel. Alright, guys. So for breakfast, we are mixing up a little bit of pine and Doug fir tea. We got some creek water in a empty beer bottle that we found that is boiling. Hopefully that beer bottle won't break. We already lost 1 beer bottle last night while making acorns. And then we have some pine pollen heads that are cooking. Hopefully those will turn out nice and be a nice addition to the tea this morning. How are those pollen heads?
I haven't tried them yet.
You ready to try it?
Yeah.
Alright. Let's see. So these are pine pollen heads. They're a little late.
Tastes the same as up there.
A little sweeter. Sweet and sour. A little fibrous.
Get a little roast on this one. Better.
Yeah, definitely improved, but I think it needs a little bit longer. Alright, guys, so it is the next morning. We've officially snacked on some pine pollen heads, and we've had a little Doug fir tea. A lot happened after dark, which was unfortunate because we couldn't film it. In addition, we did start drinking some Doug fir tea. We made some acorns, some tan oak acorns that we leached in some old beer bottles that we found, and we leached it with creek water. That was going well until like our third or fourth leaching process. The bottle broke, and which sent all of our acorns scattering across the fire, which sent me into a mad dash to gather and salvage what acorns I could. So yeah, it was. Oh, we also had some pine cones, but the pine nuts in them were no good. It's a little too late in the season. Maybe next time we'll try something like a riparian zone. But nonetheless, it was awesome to get out here with you, and thank you for coming, man. Yeah, good stuff. So we'll catch you guys later. We're gonna kind of scatter this back to the earth and get the fire out here. All right, you guys stay aware and protect. Out of these cursed redwoods. Yeah, sir. We made it. We're free. We're free peoples over there.